Hey, what's up guys, it's Laszlo here. It's been a while since I last spoke to you guys in a video. I hope you all enjoyed episode 3 of Transformers Arrival. We've worked really hard on this episode and yeah, I just hope you like it. So this is a quote director breakdown video of the episode. So originally the opening scene on Cybertron was very short, maybe like a minute and a half. Then Kaylee, our creative producer and one of the writers, came up with some cool shots and added some parts to the script, and I was like, yeah, we kinda have to add these because these sound really cool. So the Starscream part wasn't there, the shockwave part wasn't there, and all of the individual seekers like Cloud Trap and Trust and Ramjet, they were not part of the original opening and they were added later on. Now I have seen that some of you guys recognized one of the first Easter eggs, which is the blue Autobot that is about to be, well, put offline. And that Autobot is actually Sentinel Prime from Transformers 1. We actually based the design, and that was another idea by Kaylee, and we had to do it because it's just a cool Easter egg. So the whole opening with Metroplex was kind of it was kind of a difficult part to do, not because of the animations but because it was made by, of course it's made by Sling Blade, our main modeler and animator, who is incredibly talented, and he worked on Cybertron Falls 3, part 3, and you should really check out that fan film as well. And we both needed like name brand, and we needed a Metroplex model, and the easy way for a modeler is to basically get one done and sort of change and swap parts so it looks like that, but it's not a one-to-one copy. And we had some issues with that because when Namebrand saw our first teaser, he said it looks really like their model, and we experimented with texture changes and we made his colors more blue. So at one point I think we even swapped it to Fortress Maximus. Well, it's my bad because I actually lost the files, so we had to go with the original one. So Namebrand, if you see this, I deeply apologize because it wasn't meant to be like this, but I think it looks different enough to not mix them up, and I think we gave enough time ahead, so we didn't release episode 3 right after Cybertron Falls 3, because I wanted to give time for the people, for the team, for name brand to get his version out and people to see that, and after that we can release episode 3. So that was one of the reasons behind the delay. We switch back to Earth and it is revealed that the Cybertron opening is told by Sideswipe to Bumblebee as a memory, as he remembers it, and they are in the drive-in theater for Bumblebee to get more lines, because after Bumblebee, in the Bumblebee movie, he was switching between the radios and using those channels to speak, but in Rise of the Beast and in the Bayverse, he was using more like movie quotes to speak rather than radio channels or songs. And in Rise of the Beast he used movie quotes, and of course Optimus told him to stop going to that drive-in theater, and yeah, so I had to write that into the story. And of course we get the Dark of the Moon Easter egg with Spock and him going crazy, foreshadowing Dark of the Moon story as they did with Sentinel. Then we switch to Optimus and Ratchet finding Trailbreaker, because he was giving out weak signals at the end of the battle in episode 2, as you may remember. And that's how they found the base, because they received the message and the Seekers were able to track that signal, where it was going, where it was received. And of course it's a Autobot signal, so the Autobots can receive that much faster than the humans or anyone else. And so they find Trailbreaker and he's destroyed. We actually did more damage to the model than we actually planned to, and yeah, I strongly agree with the Fire Brothers that we should have added more sparks and more details like cables. But keep in mind, this scene, this junkyard scene, was the first scene that was done for this episode. This was the first scene in January that we finished. So yeah, that's why Prime's transformation is looking kinda it's okay, but it could have been better. And then we switch to the Autobot base, and of course Starscream found the base, but only one Autobot is there, Arcee. This sequence is one of the least favorite part of this entire episode to me. It was done by Kaylee, almost entirely done by her, and it was done as a test scene and to someone to polish and redo the shots, and somehow I can't say we forgot to redo it, because it was in our mind and we kept up with the production, but somehow, look, we lost a few animators, we gained a few animators, then those swapped projects, and there's so much you can do with free time and with a passion project. Of course we had fundings, and you can notice that funding going into the project as the scale grew and the project got, and the episode got longer and bigger. Actually, the episode was over 20 minutes long, but we decided to cut some parts to include and rework in episode 4. And now episode 4 is the longest script I ever wrote, and should be the longest episode so far. Well over 20 minutes. I think. I strongly believe that. That's why this fight between Arcee and Starscream looks wonky, because it was done as a test. And I always gave all of the animators a time or a moment to shine, to show what you can do, and you can improve from that. And I won't say this to any of my animators that, look, this animation looks like crap, you should just delete it and redo it and try again and try again and try again, because that's what kills motivation. After this fight scene, I can say with 1000% that Kaylee got way better with animations. She improved a lot from this, and it may be because she had time to practice with this sequence. I know it looks wonky, and we might redo this after all of the episodes are out and we give ourselves time, but yeah, that's the whole reason why it looks the way it looks. Then we cut to Jazz and Ultra Magnus being in the city, seeing humans and population. This was one of the key issue that bothered me a lot, and I know that Fire Brothers mentioned this in episode 2, that the world feels empty, it feels dead. And I decided to basically to go, we have these sites called Mixamo, and you just pick an animation, how long you want it, what character you want it, and download it, and you can implement those humans to a scene that was done by one of the animators, and I was responsible for combining these shots, and I was responsible for the city environment you see in the fight, which I'm very proud of. One of the critiques that I got from the team is that I don't involve myself as much as I should in the animation part. Basically, I have to learn. If this is my project, if I want it this way, you better learn it and do it. And I'm trying it, doing it as best as I could, basically. Now the fight scene between Scrapper, Jazz and Ultra Magnus took us way longer than we expected. When I pitched this scene to Sling Blade, he said he wanted to do it, but he wanted a long fight, not like unlike the one in episode 2 with Trailbreaker. He wanted to do a long fight, and well, it's actually 10,000 frames long. It took me over 18 hours. 18 hours to render. So it was, oh boy. And it was a reason for the second delay of the episode, because I didn't want to rush anyone. I wanted them to take their time, so I didn't want to rush anything, because a rushed product is going to look like episode 1 and we wanted to improve, and we are trying to continue to improve from here in episode 4 and episode 5. But yeah, the fight was a complicated scene, but I was proud because I was the one who did the flame effect for the hammer. And as Five Brothers mentioned, I forgot to add that to the second shot when he smashes Scrapper's face with the hammer. So yeah, that's my bad. And you can spot the Easter egg with Galvatron's Revenge, the poster of Galvatron's Revenge being on the van, and Jazz smashing the van. Basically, it's a fun Easter egg. It's nothing mean, or yeah, you get it. Then we cut back to the Autobots arriving at base. Magnus is really upset. He blames himself for Arcee being killed, and he mentions his soldiers that got killed so far, like Cliff Jumper, Trailbreaker, and now Arcee. And he deeply cares for his soldiers because he didn't have an easy life. So he's younger than any version of Ultra Magnus we've seen so far, but he has seen enough where he built this grumpy persona to protect himself from basically emotions. And this is the first time that emotions really break out from him. He can't keep up the facade, so it gets to him. For the Arcee rescue scene, we actually planned a lot more, but we were tight on time, and that's why we cut to Magnus and Sideswipe going to the Sector 7 base. There was a scene where they prepared and they got a truck for Magnus to basically get there, and there was a scene where Sideswipe was climbing into the box, basically half transforming himself like Bumblebee did in the Bumblebee movie, to fit into the box. And sadly we didn't have enough time to make that scene. As I mentioned, we were lacking some animations and animators, I should say. This question was asked by the Fire Brothers in his review, that is Shatter in the same base or in the same hangar, or where she is. Now, Sector 7 is now going to fade out. It is going to be taken over by G.I. Joe, basically. And Sector 7, while they are still there, they're trying to understand how they work, how these robots work. Basically rebuilding stuff and taking parts and building weapons, and yeah. So they built a makeshift skeleton for Shatter's parts, because if they take that metal skeleton away, she crumbles to parts again. They connected the cables and they know about Energon, and they draining Energon from the dead ones to try and revive one, and basically sort of like KSI did in Age of Extinction, that they don't understand what they are doing, but it's not a good idea to do that. And we get to the post-credit scene, and whose arm is that? It's not Dropkick's, it's Starscream's arm, because when Cobra shot Starscream, they actually got his arm, and this weapon they used is again harvested from the dead Decepticons and Autobots. And this has the early design of basically a rust cannon, where when a Transformers get shot, that part falls off, and that's why Arcee fell to pieces. Not because she was weak, not because she was made out of Legos, it's because of the weapon. And the GI Joes were tracking the Cobras in the forest base, because they knew that something was in that forest, and they know if they knew, then Cobra knows as well. And we get to the Megatron reveal. He is actually slowly breaking out of his iced prison, and we get to see him in the next one. I can tell you that. Now, there has been a lot of deleted scenes. Some asked where's the scene where Optimus grabs the missile and explodes. Well, that scene was cool, and I wanted to include it, but I lost the files, of course. And I can give you a context what that scene was meant to be. It was after when Optimus and Ratchet were going back from the junkyard to the Autobot base, and Starscream with one arm tries to shoot Optimus, and Slipstream was actually there, and she was mocking Starscream that he wasn't able to kill Optimus and so on, and so he shot a missile at Optimus, telling that he can kill him anytime he wants, and Optimus grabs it and returns the gift. So yeah, that scene was really cool. It was based off of one of my old concepts I did for quote Bumblebee 2, and it was cool to see, but I don't know what happened to the files. I actually lost them, and I was very upset because I had to redo every shot again. Optimus was animated and that's all fine, but I had to basically redo all of them, all of the rest, that the adding the city, adding the explosions, adding the effects. It was a disaster. So yeah, that's all about that scene. So I hope you enjoyed episode 3. We will try to, and we will do our best to improve Again, we are taking notes. And with that, stay safe and talk to you later. Bye.